Okay. Oh, I appreciate that
Welcome,
warning shot
Alice.
they fire there. Hi. My name is Alyson Roach. I've been in real estate since 2018. When I first initially got licensed, I had a full-time job and I was expecting my third and final child, Pearl. And so I did real estate as a side hustle alongside my full-time job and family and growing physique. Um, I sold 6 houses between May and September. The last closing I had before Pearl was born, I was actually in the hospital. So Tim attended the closing with my client. And that client later came back and sold with me. So that didn't hurt me. So after I had Pearl, I was like, I think this is really a going concern. I'm going to do this full time. And it was absolutely terrifying, but I made the leap. And here a few years later, my husband is a stay home dad for our 3 kids. And the most important thing is I feel like I found my thing. Um, I don't think a lot of people have that kind of fortune in their life to have a career that kind of lights up all their buttons and feels right to them. Does that mean I'm the best realtor in the country? No, I have so much more to learn, which is kind of what's fun about it. But it's something that I do every day and I don't get tired of. And I don't like, I remember before feeling like a caged animal sitting at a desk all the time and I couldn't do it anymore. And so I feel fortunate to be here and honored to be talking to you guys. Is there anyone here? Not everyone's on camera, but is there anyone here who's in their first like 3 months? Okay, Sarah is. Is there anybody who's never done an open house before? Is there anyone who hates doing open houses because they feel like that guy at the kiosk in the mall trying to sell hair straighteners and wigs? So for me, that's the biggest kind of barrier to entry or the most awkward part of doing an open house is the feeling that people are there to see the house and you are a like a barrier to them getting what they want. So it can be a little awkward. And I think the instinct is to either feel like you have to win every single person who walks through the door as a client, and that's overwhelming and it takes a lot of energy, and you'll only do like 2 open houses before you decide that's not your thing. Or the opposite instinct is to be to kind of shrink it to the background and really just kind of let people run amok in there. So striking a balance and doing it in a way that's sustainable for you, that feels right, is kind of my message. And so we'll talk about just basics really quick, and then we'll go into some safety focused stuff. And then finally, we have a small enough group here. If we have time left, I would be very interested in hearing, since it's the last day of Realtor Safety Month, if you have any cool stories. I'll tell you one of mine. So, real quickly, like basic open house stuff is you are there. It would be great if you sold the house, but what we all know is that you're there to make connections that are outside your usual sphere. So, you are there to form relationships and to find people that you want to work with and that want to work with you. Um, I have sold the property that I've done the open house for many times, like based on the open house. So that happens. But more importantly, I've gotten a lot of clients that way. And I think third most important is, so when I look at my CRM and track like where my clients come from, number one is my sphere. So people I know and client like people who know my clients, referrals from them. Number two is other real estate agents, which I found surprising, but that's true. That's my number two source of business. Number three is open houses. So I'm going to talk a little bit about when you're holding something open for another realtor, how you can help make a connection, especially if you're new in the business, and make them your go-to person. Or you'll maybe be their go-to person to hold their properties open, or sometimes they have buyer referrals that they want to make a referral fee on, but not necessarily go out with that person who's got the $150,000 FHA budget. So, but that's where you start. You got to start somewhere. So before the open house happens, quick, this is probably review for most people, but how do people find out it's happening? The main way they find out is that in the MLS, there's a place where you put the open house in, and that syndicates out to all the sites that people are looking at, primarily Zillow. So if you're the admin person for your own listings, you can put that in yourself, or the admin who does the listing information for you puts that in. If you're holding a house open for another agent, um, typically I'll ask them, are you updating the MLS, just to make sure that it's getting out there in the public. If I'm doing for my own listing, I usually send out an email to the, y'all get 50 million of them every day, just listed, open house, etc. I try to gear those emails and almost anything I send to your, it's not just to the audience that you're intending it for. I write the email so that another realtor could forward it to their client and it would still make sense and it would still present professionally and reflect well on me. So I'm not putting stuff in there that I wouldn't want a client or a potential buyer to see. I'm putting in a few pictures. They'll be different from the ones I used last time. If I did a just listed email, the open house email is going to look a little different. I do video for all of my listings, so I also put a link to the video in there. And then the third prong of it is social media. Again, those posts are intended to be shared with other people. So keep in mind, like a broad audience with the goal of people are sharing this with their own, your clients who super love you or other people in your life who super love you will just share your social media post in your story. And I've gotten clients that way, out of state clients who didn't know who to turn to, like for an old house in Omaha, saw their friends post and they became clients of mine on, I have one right now who we bought and now we're selling. So you can get clients that way. And that's an easy win. Social media is an easy way to do that.
I like that tip, Alyson. I think if everybody wasn't really paying attention, they need to pay attention to that. That when you write your marketing materials, when you put anything out on social media or on with other agents, always with the intention that it can be passed on. Because I've had stuff passed on sometimes, and I'm like, oh, that was like another conversation.
Right.
Yeah, maybe you shouldn't have been in here, or yeah. But that's a really, really good point.
Yeah.
Like
Something that you intend to be shared with a general audience, even if it's just for realtors, and something that you wouldn't mind your seller seeing. I think that's important for anything you put in writing. But okay, so a question that people who are newer in the business often ask is, when I'm holding someone else's house open, do I need to promote it like it's proprietary or like intellectual property? For instance, Sarah held a house open for me really recently. I was sick and she like saved me that day. Does she need to promote the open house? Like, this is Alyson Roach's listing, I'm just holding it open. I had the same question when I started too. The answer is no. I am having an open house at this address. Make hay with it. Just promote it that way. Whoever the list agent is not going to care. They just want people to come. I've never had anyone object or to explicitly tell me, like, make sure you promote it as my listing. That's just not how it works. Don't expect to be paid to hold someone else's listing open. Again, the object of the game is to make your own connections, and that's kind of where it's an opportunity for you, but it's not a paid opportunity in terms of compensation from the list agent. I think is another important thing to know. If you're showing their client, you're never going to make a commission on that, and that's usually something that they'll pay you for your time. So you're promoting it, you're telling the entire world, here's where I'm going to be, here's the time I'm going to be there, come and see me, and you're inviting people to do that. So I think maybe a lot of you came to that presentation out at Lakeside. Who is the safety guy? that came really recently. Um, so we had a gentleman come do a presentation, and I thought that the greatest piece of value from that, from a safety perspective, was that people who intend to do you personal harm do it because they want they have like a twisted way of connecting with people. um so we're going to talk a little more about like the when we conduct the open house, like ways to be less vulnerable. But yes, there is a possibility that you've told someone who's going to keep an eye on you on the internet where exactly you're going to be and when, um, and give them a chance to come and meet you. The other possibility, so that's about protecting yourself. You're also trying to protect your personal property. I'll show you a little bit like what I bring and what I don't bring to an open house. You're also trying to protect your seller and their property. So it's important to advise them before the open house to secure their belongings like they should for showings and anytime they're having strangers in and out of their home. So medications is one thing that they need to keep in mind. Stephanie Schrader at our brokerage has access to like little lock boxes that people can borrow from a nonprofit organization to lock up their medication and give back. And she, I spoke with her about it, and she said, feel free to reach out to her if you'd like access to some of those for your listings. Um, Obviously, firearms and weapons are something I wouldn't like keep my handgun on the bedside table drawer while people are in and out of my home. And then, of course, valuables. So, your top dresser drawer is probably not the most secure place to stash all that stuff. Put it somewhere inconspicuous, lock it up, or take it out of the home. Um, so, at the open house itself, I keep a bag in my car just because you're going to be bringing the same stuff over and over again to all of them. Make it easy on yourself. So I just have this like nondescript canvas bag. I bring that instead of a purse because I think that it's less attractive to steal. So I'll put my keys and stuff in there, but you're not going to have your eyes on your stuff the whole time. One thing that I'm not bringing is my laptop. I know it's really tempting, like you're thinking, I have 2 hours, I'll probably be able to get an hour of work in while I'm sitting at this open house. First of all, hopefully not. Second of all, like hopefully you'll be busy and talking to people. Second, it's just too easy to steal, either clandestinely, or we've all read stories about someone sitting in an open house and getting clocked over the head and their laptop stolen. Um, so just don't bring it with you. You have your phone. I think it's all women on here. Yeah, Pete was on here, but he left. He knows how to do an open house. Um, but wear something that has pockets. Keep track of your phone. I can't tell you how many times I put my phone down and walked away and then come back and I'm like, well, I'm glad that's still there. So in the bag, I have, well, next to the bag, I have the writer always. I also have um, a clipboard with a sign-in sheet. I did this old school because I wasn't sure if I'd be able to share my screen. You can use this over and over again. There's lots and lots of slots. It's for name, email, and phone. Super, super simple. Because when someone's walking through the door, I'm just going to hand them a clipboard and I'm not going to ask them to sign in. I'm going to hand them a clipboard and a pen and then start talking to them. And they're just going to do it. And if they object to it, like choose your battles. You can decide to eject them from the open house if you feel like fighting with someone, or you can just be like, well, that person can just enjoy their next 15 minutes without my assistance. That's fine. So I'm bringing that. I'm bringing flyers. This is a template. It's the same for every single open house that I do. I picked this one because on this one, decided to co-brand it with Tim Reader. That made sense for this listing, but maybe it's just branded for yourself. That's okay, even if it's not your listing. This is about it's about the house. It's about you. Just don't say you're the list agent. You're the person who's holding the open house. And that's not dishonest to do. The people will ask questions and you'll just say, this is my colleague's listing. but I can get that information for you. So you don't have to make a big deal about it. You don't have to feel awkward. It's totally normal. Just roll with it and just tell people I will get that information for you. I also bring my buyer book and a seller book with me. I bring like one or two of each of them. I'm not handing it to every single person who walks through the door. I am either using it to have like a really in-depth conversation with somebody if we have time to do that and it's flowing, or just like I feel like I know when I want to give someone like my whole spiel. This is usually what I use in meetings with people. I have copies of all of the paperwork that people sign when they make an offer in the book. So sometimes it's nice to be able to pull that out and say, okay, you want to make an offer, like price is not the only thing. Here are all the other things to keep in mind. And so we're going to tailor your offer um, to win, and price is not the only consideration. Anyway. Another thing that I bring with me is I'm not handing my card to every single person, but I'm bringing seller property condition disclosure. And I have this dish that I put mints in my business cards in. So I've got like a bait with this, and I've got the seller property condition disclosure. I'm handing them the flyer. Um, but we've got like a little station. If there's a pre-inspection book, I'll put that there. So like print material and this little candy dish so they can pick up what they're interested in. You don't need a gazillion copies of everything. Like 10, 15, 20 is more than enough. You don't need one for every single person that's walking through the door. Okay, I'm also bringing hand sanitizer these days. And if masks are required, then I am bringing some disposable masks. I feel like that's, if I'm asking people to do it, then and they don't have one, I'm just going to hand them one. And again, I'm not going to ask them. They're going to say, I don't know. I'm going to say, here you go. If I'm requiring masks from people, I'm also wearing a mask. If I'm requiring them to take their shoes off, my shoes are also off and set by the door as an example. And people will see your shoes there and they'll just take their shoes off. So half the time you don't have to even say anything about it. I also have, it's a picture frame, but like a glass regular frame, and it has a nice looking sign in it that says like, please remove your shoes. And I'll set it by the shoes or in a place where people see when they walk through the door. So when I get to the house, I'm making sure I'm getting there 20 or 30 minutes early. I want to know what's on the seller property condition disclosure as thoroughly as possible. And we'll talk more about why. If there's a pre-inspection, I want to know the details of that. And I usually either I have the seller or I've had a conversation with the list agent about the seller just to know, like, sometimes it's nice to have information like, oh, yeah, they've like the one that Sarah held open for me. Yes, they've only lived here 10 months. As soon as they close, they got a job transfer. Like, what are the FAQs going to be on this house? So I have that in mind. I'm showing up early. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get in there. I'm going to lock the door behind me because this open house is not started yet. And we are going to stick to our times. We're going to start, we're going to end on time. And that is a safety thing. I'm going to go through and turn on every light in the house. I'm going to look in closets. I'm going to judge things that to make them neat. I'm going to, obviously observe whether there's things that probably should be put away and noted for the seller later. Like, you left your Oxycontin on the bathroom counter. I'm going to put it away for them.
You left it by your handgun.
Yeah, you left it by your gun.
By your roll of
Fabergé eggs.
$100 bills.
Yeah. Your money clip and your valuable antiques. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to turn on all the lights. I do peek in all the closets. And I also am going to open all of the doors on the main floor. I'm doing this because if I want to get out, I want it to be easy for me to get out. Go in the backyard and see where you can get out of there. Because wouldn't it suck to be running away from somebody and basically running into a cage in their backyard where there are no gates, right? So just look alive, like all of your points of egress. Where do I need to pay attention? Where are people potentially going to come in? Look at where the sidewalks are. Just try to have an idea of like, what's the flow going to be here? And how would I get out of here if I really needed to get out of here in a hurry? Um, let's see. So that's I think the first safety precaution. So the starting on time thing. It can be sort of uncomfortable if you have people lined up outside waiting for you to start the open house. You're going to have to get comfortable being uncomfortable in a lot of scenarios in life and in real estate. And this is one of them. Like, wait until it's time to open up. You're always going to be safer if there's a chance for other people to come in at any moment. I think that private showings are potentially a lot more dangerous than an open house, to be honest. A lot of this stuff applies to both of them. But if you have an unvetted, like I used to do this all the time, and I can't believe it looking back. I was super pregnant, and somebody would get some random Zillow lead, and I would go show up and meet this stranger at this house. And I knew it was dumb when I was doing it, but I was desperate for um, to get my foot in the door in the business. And those were not like that was not the most fruitful avenue for making commissions, and it was a dangerous thing to do. So a well vetted buyer is important. An open house, at least there's the opportunity for other people to come in and hope even like a seller to come home. Um, so I don't think that we need to be super scared of doing open houses. Just like look alive and pay attention. Let's see. So you've kind of set the scene in the house, made sure that it's show ready, essentially well lit, and that you know your points of entry and exit. You're opening on time. Um, you've got your stuff hidden away. You have not brought your valuable computer with you. You left your Fabergé eggs at home. So you're not looking like a great target to rob. And then again, hopefully you're going to be busy the whole time. This is just kind of a personal pet peeve of mine, but I think it's helpful to stay alert while you're doing it. Open houses can be boring, right? So I kind of look at it like I'm in a retail job. I don't sit down for the most part. I will stay on my feet if that's something that's you're physically capable of. I recommend it. I stay on my feet. I stand somewhere where I can see out the window. I stay close to the front door. And then as people come in, um, I kind of learned this dialogue from Jen Manhart. I really liked how she set this up. People come in the door and I set expectations because I am the boss. And this is true in private showings too. Um, they come in the door and I'm handing them the clipboard with one hand. Hi, my name is Alyson Roach. Welcome. Are you guys neighbors? Or are you hitting some open houses today? Something like that. And they'll just probably just sign in without you even asking since you handed them the thing with the pen. I rarely have anybody object to it. And if they do, I just ignore it and move on. When they're done with that, they hand it back to me. I hand them the flyer. The whole time I'm talking and just saying, welcome. I always ask them if they're a neighbor or if they're checking out some open houses today. And usually they'll just start telling us stuff. You're just greasing the wheels for conversation. And so, like, for example, in this house, I'll say, well, cool. This is a 3-story 1925 craftsman home designed by Henninger. It's got a really killer master bathroom and a super weird tiki bar in the basement. So don't miss that. I'm going to let you kind of get your bearings and look around. I'll be hanging out right here by the front door if you have any questions. I've set expectations that I'm going to be here by the front door. And I'm doing that because I am not going to follow them around. I'm not going to be lured into a bathroom or a basement or somewhere like that. If they have a question, I have maybe only had this happen 1 or 2 times where someone calls me from somewhere and is like, hey, blah, 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 and they have a question about something. Can you come take a look at this? I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to say is, I can't hear you. And then they're going to come out and ask me their question. I know what's on the seller property condition disclosure already. I know it's in the pre-inspection. There's nothing that I need to go see in the basement. So my response to that would be like, I'm going to have to stay right here, but I can either answer their question or tell them that I'll get back to them. again, you're the boss. You don't have to go somewhere just because they tell you to go there. I think, and I'm gonna like, I think as women though, we have this idea that we're gonna be of service to this person, and we're gonna like go above and beyond and do what it takes. And we want to demonstrate that we're a professional and we're going to do what it takes. But being a professional is being in charge. And really, like, if someone wants you to come and take a look at a crack in the basement wall, you're not an inspector or a structural engineer. You know that it's there, or you can pretend that you know that it's there and say, yeah, I saw that, and here's what I think about it, or like that's something a home inspector could tell us more about, or something like that. But you don't have to go down and observe the crack in the basement wall with them. And I think that most reasonable people would understand that your job is to be greeting people at the door. If you're doing an open house with two people, that's even better. But usually we're on our own, and people seem to understand. So I've given them the flyer. They look around. When they come back, is when we're going to have the conversation where I'm trying to um, ascertain whether we're going to be working together. So when they come back is when we're going to chat about the house. I'm going to ask them about their process. Sometimes I'll say something like, so are you selling a house and looking to move? Like, really what I want to know is, do you have a realtor? So if they're selling their house, then they probably have someone. And at that point, like, yeah, we're listing with Sarah Hansen or something like that. So just let it flow naturally. One of the biggest, um, uh, and this is like philosophically something I really stick by. If there's somebody who comes through the door that I am not interested in working with for whatever reason, they creep me out. They don't seem like, I don't know, we're just not vibing. They're rude or brusque. Let them go. You don't have to expend all of your energy on every single person. And a reasonable expectation walking away from an open house, like, I would be happy if I got one or two people to follow up with who seemed like good prospects. If they tell you, again, this is just basics, but if they tell you that they already have a realtor, then you say, great. Oh, cool. I know Nancy. She's awesome. Or I've never met Julia before. And then you kind of leave them alone. They still, like, I have had people come back to me later and been like, uh, we really liked we really liked you, and we actually would like to change realtors. And then that's their decision, and they can make that transition if they want to, but you don't try to get them once you know that they're already attached to a realtor. Okay, so safety stuff wise, it's as simple as, I think, also in private showings, is to, and then the safety presenter that we had a few weeks ago really made a great point of this. People are looking for easy targets, and they're looking for someone that they can control and manipulate, and who's not going to make too much of a fuss, and who's going to make them feel powerful. So if you're in charge of things and you're not following their lead and jumping when they say jump, that's a good start. I think another thing, as women, that we learn is, sometimes if you make eye contact with somebody, that's when you get a comment that you really don't want, that makes you uncomfortable. But I think it's important to look people full in the face, in the eyes, and like show them that you're paying attention and that you're in control. So like the confidence and the way you carry yourself physically is important. um, People talk all the time about, when you're showing a house or you're in with a client, make sure that they're walking in front of you. That's really hard for a lot of men who've been trained to open doors and to let the lady through first. But again, like, you're the boss. You don't have to play the game by other people's rules. Um, and you don't have to make excuses. If uh, frequently, when I'm trying to get a guy client usually to walk in front of me, and I open the door, they're uncomfortable with that. And then they stand there and they want me to go through. I just say, oh, you go. Tell them you go. And 99% of the time they will. Practice it at a gas station where you're most likely to be sexually harassed for some reason, and tell them you go. There's some, have you guys seen the meme, like, are you going to tell me I'm beautiful today, or do I have to go to the gas station? That is just like where it goes down. But anyway, practice it there, like telling men to go through the door first. Um, so again, you're sticking by the door, you know where your egress points are. And when you're ready to conclude the open house, if it's like, I'll let people look around, especially if they seem like legitimate buyers, after it's done. You have to really use your discretion whether you're going to like lock yourself in with somebody. Generally, if it's a couple with a baby and they're taking another 5 minutes, I'll go lock the front door and just start turning off lights and let them know, like, guys, I'm wrapping up. Let me know if you have any more questions. They'll generally get out. I would not lock myself in with probably most people. I have also stepped outside onto the front porch or stoop before if I was super uncomfortable and alone with somebody. Part of the reason for the sign in is so you can kind of keep track of like who's come and gone. Generally, people will leave the same way that they came in. Um, okay, so when you're done and you're locking up, you gotta walk through, turn off all the lights, and check and make sure that nobody's still there. And to me, that's kind of not, I wouldn't say scariest, but that's the time when I'm really paying the most attention to what's going on. So I'm gonna check over the first floor first with the front door locked. I'm gonna go upstairs and then I'm gonna go in the basement, and just pay attention to if anybody's left behind. I think that's probably the most vulnerable time for you. Um, so if you're Kelly McAloonis, she's got like an arsenal of stun guns and mace and stuff, and she's gifted me some of that stuff. I got a cool one that I'm going to show you. I have a client who's a U.S. Marshal, and every time he speaks, he has to remind everyone that he's a U.S. Marshal. Um, Gina Stearns, do you have 2 or 3 clipboards in case they walk away? Yeah, or in case several buyers come at once. I'm usually not that together. Um, usually I'll just kind of hand it off as they go and just I'll address them as a group as they come in. It wouldn't be a bad idea if you did bring a few. I like that idea. I just hadn't thought of it before. Anyway, he got me this thing. It's a flashlight and it's a stun gun too. I'm going to carry this around with me in situations where I'm kind of clearing a home after an open house. I think that's a great idea. I also think it's a good idea to check all the doors and windows and points at which of entry to make sure they're locked, even if you didn't unlock them. So one of the things that people are concerned about are these people legitimate buyers, or are they people here to check out what we got, scope out our stuff, and come rob us later? Um, and one of the cautions is, people leave a door unlocked. So just check around and make sure that everything that all the points of entry are locked, not just the ones that you did. Check and see if there's anything else I missed here. Okay. From a general standpoint, and this is less about safety, this is just like general open house hot tips. A lot of the realtors who I've built relationship with who have given me referrals or asked me to specifically to host their open houses, it's been because I did good follow-up. And I love that Sarah's here because I printed out an example from Sarah today. What I advise people to do, and it's fun when it like comes back around to me, is to keep really good notes on the people who are in and out. Since you've listened to me and you didn't bring your valuable laptop with you to this open house, you probably have a lot of time on your hands to make some notes and really like get into what you're doing. So count the number of people. Count the number of people who are in and out so that you can share that with the list agent. Again, you're writing this email in a way where if they wanted to, they could just share it with their client. They probably won't, but you want to make sure that you're writing it in a way that they could. So I wouldn't say something like, everyone said this house was disgusting. I would say maybe if important feedback was that it wasn't clean, I would say it could use another pass at cleaning before there's more showings. Or most people said that they noticed a smell, XYZ, something like that. Like, what did people notice about it? But keep in mind that this may be shared directly with their client. You don't know what this person's going to do with this email once you send it. So keep notes on how many people were there. That makes them look good, that there were 45 people at this open house. You don't have to tell them that 29 of them were children, just how many of them. They can, this is to make them look good and have something to share with their client. Um, you're going to pick out those people who seem like they had serious interest and get information so that that list agent can follow up with these people if they seem like they want to buy this house and they already have an agent. So um, it was Mike and Michelle. They're working with Sarah Hansen with Better Homes and Gardens Real Estate. If you want bonus points, you can look up Sarah Hansen's phone number and provide that and just say they said this is the nicest house they've seen in Fire Ridge. Um, so then that list agent can call their agent back and say, hey, Mike and Michelle came through my open house and they seem to really like it. And they can kind of take it from there as if they were the person who did the open house. If the buyers are unattached and they have interest, you held it open. Those are your buyers now. So you don't have to share that with the list agent. You get back in touch with those people, make them your client, and then you've got an offer coming. So not only did you hold it open and give them great information and feedback and people to follow up with, now you're also bringing an offer. So unattached buyers are yours. Attached buyers, let them follow up with that person's agent. Sometimes the best you can do is like an approximation of that agent's name and maybe who they work for. Just write down sounded like Dylan Roberts and see if they can follow up, but just provide thorough feedback and information for them.
Nancy Keene had some feedback on the stun gun, and
Okay.
Gina Stern asked a question about it. So if you want to wait,
Yeah.
just address that at the end, that's fine.
Sure. And I think that that's like a pretty good stopping point for like open house basics. The only other thing that I would want to add, and this goes for any appointments that I have, and including open houses. Um, ever since I started in real estate, I've made sure that everything that I'm doing is on my calendar. And I personally, and I like my husband just fine. I just don't like share my whole calendar with him. But if that's how you roll with another person in your life, that's fine. But I think it's important that people know where you are and who you're with from a safety perspective. So the way I do it, like some people just they share their calendar with their spouse or whoever. That's fine. I send him calendar invites. He doesn't have a lot going on in his life, so it doesn't really bother him that he has all these appointments that are not his. So it says A out, Sarah Hansen, the address. I do it for every one of the showings I'm on. So if I disappear, he knows like who to ask, where I was. I'm not saying Sarah's a suspect. I'm just saying like last seen by. He knows where I'm going to be for open houses. And this is just so if he ever needed to kind of retrace my steps, that he would have the ability to do so. If you don't have somebody in your life who you're like sharing those kind of intimate details with, it might be a good idea to like have somebody who has access to your calendar. Just so if they needed to backtrack and ask some questions, or if you don't show up somewhere, that somebody could follow up and piece something together.
Great tip.
Yeah, that's kind of my final thing. But sometimes I don't need all that stuff on my calendar, but I want someone to have it.
Yeah, it's a good idea to have a buddy or somebody who's your accountability partner that knows where you are. And yeah.
So Gina's 2 or 3 clipboards thing is something I learned today. I'll probably have more than one from now on. The brand name of this from U.S. Marshal Mike Youngblood is it's a mace brand. It doesn't have like liquid mace in it, but it's the stun gun flashlight combination. And Nancy, what do you want to say?
I carry a stun gun very similar to what you have. I think I got mine from Damsel in Distress or something. They were a presentation at the Well Armed Women's Club at one of the gun clubs. And I love it. It's rechargeable. I love it. But however, some of our skinny jeans or slacks that we wear don't always allow pockets to kind of tuck it in. And so a lot of times I will just tuck it into my waistband. Well, I was at an appointment and I had it. And I sat down at the table, comfortable, sat down at the table. Well, the way I had it positioned in my waistband turned it on. And all of a sudden, I was getting a little warm down there. So I pulled this thing out thinking, what the heck's going on? I couldn't stand it anymore. And the gentleman across the table, he's like, oh my goodness, what's that? And as I pulled it out, the darn thing had clicked on. I zapped my hands. So my 3 fingers were numb for 2 days. So if you ever want to know what it feels like, I can tell you that. It works. And so again, I kind of had to make a light joke over it because the gentleman's kind of like so surprised that I whipped that out. And I says, well, a girl can never be too careful. He says, well, thank the Lord you're not carrying a gun. I said, oh, Jim, don't worry. That's my back pocket.
Damn. So, and Jim signed his paperwork promptly every time you sent it. This has a safety on it. I like that it's a flashlight with a strap so that
Right. I don't think mine has the safety, but the strap, because if yours is very similar to mine, the strap, if they pull it away from you, it doesn't work.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it is a great little thing, because who would question a realtor to walk around with a little flashlight, just like our Popeyes. That's about the size mine is.
yeah, they're heavy. The stun guns. Max bought them for Laura and I, and the biggest problem is remembering to have them.
mm-hmm.
So
That is the biggest
that's
problem.
a really big point, is make sure that you actually have it. It's not in your car somewhere where you're not.
I leave mine in my car all the time, because that's my last minute, like, do I have everything before I go into an appointment or wherever? And so, yeah, I love it. It's perfect.
Great story.
Just don't put it in your
I'm
pants.
surprised you didn't knock yourself out.
So,
That's really
What
good.
about pepper spray?
last open house, well, one of the last open houses I did, it was right after that safety dude came, and I had gotten some, general internet creepiness in my inbox, like that day or week. And Jay Hanen came by my open house, and he happened to gift me like a really rad, badass bottle of pepper spray. And I'm like, what is the universe trying to tell me right now? Like,
No.
creeping me out. I think it's good to have whatever you're comfortable actually using. And this is just a like opinion corner right now, but I think your greatest defense is confidence and being in command of yourself and the situation. Like I said, the biggest takeaway from that safety presentation that we had was that someone who's looking to hurt you personally is looking for power and control. So if you're
Mhm.
not an easy or appealing target for that, they'll probably move on to someone softer, more understanding.
I think one of the most important things you said today was that you set the expectations, and you said, I am the boss,
Mhm.
and that really is powerful.
Yeah.
Alyson, I think that is probably more powerful than even all the little rules that we try to make sure we follow, check in the closets, check all the doors. Some people who teach safety say lock all the doors, so that, the back doors and things. So you have to let somebody in or out. And then other people say, which I don't disagree with you, I don't want to have 10 motions to get out of someplace. I want to know where all those holes are. So I think setting that expectation early on is really important. So thank you for saying that, because I hope everybody was listening, that I am the boss of this.
Right.
And you don't have to explain to people like, here's why I want you to sign in. Just hand them the clipboard. You don't
Yeah.
have to explain like, oh, I need you to walk in front of me because that's more safe. And but not that I don't trust you. No, just, oh, you go.
Yeah.
You go. They want to go
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah,
I
like
know I
who would-
joined really late, but I have a couple tips too with that.
Shoot.
First of all, that pepper spray or bear spray, it's about $20 on Amazon, but it's a gel form. So it doesn't spray like a mist. If you know, have to spray it or you're struggling, it actually shoots like a stream and kind
Oh.
of sticks to people. So it's one of the top rated ones. A
Okay.
couple of things I've learned early on in open houses too is I carry a bag and I never leave the dining room table or the area that I kind of just park myself where I have a couple ways out. I no longer show people around the house at all, even if they ask me to. They can go look around and come back and ask me questions. I also at the door meet them with the clipboard. And a lot of them are like, oh, we have a realtor, we're just looking. I'm like, well, you either have to sign in or it's $10. And I laugh, and almost all of them will always sign in. So
I like that.
a couple of those, but yeah, I mean, I did so many stupid things my first year. I'm like, here, follow me. Let's look around the basement. Here, let's go to the attic. I mean, I could have just been
Yeah.
victim all over the place, but the things I've never had someone that like made me uncomfortable, but I did have a couple of people that I thought were casing the house. And I really kind of paid attention to those. Those were people that didn't fit the neighborhood, their car didn't fit the area. I felt really just had a bad vibe. And so those are the people, like Alyson said, take notes, try to get their license plate if you can, just because those make me a little bit nervous.
Yeah, good tips. Very good tips.
Instincts are just trust them. And you don't have to be alarmist. You just have to be trust.
When you're having people sign in, either one of you two, Jay or Alyson, do you do it in the name of the homeowner? The homeowner requires to have
Sometimes
it to be.
I use whatever feels comfortable.
Yeah, because that's what
usually
I
just
used to
say,
use that.
we're asking everyone to sign in.
Yeah. And that used to be my kind of my standard, and very seldom did I ever get any pushback. And
Yeah.
one time a guy pushed back, I mean, and it was just being a jerk, and his wife was there. And I finally just said, just put in a false name. I don't care. Make up an address. Just put something in. And his wife was like, boom, hit him. But
And
yeah.
I've told people too, like that too, if they're that difficult, I'm like, I'm not going to call you. We would obviously not be a good match. I'll give it right back to them sometimes.
Yeah, or making a joke out of it, like, or $10, you know, or $100. I don't know, whatever it is, but yeah, that's a really good idea. But it is really good to be able to trace back who was in the house, as well as having that information in front of you, because otherwise, what's the point of a open house?
Yeah.
You don't have any contact information.
Nice to slow people down a little bit so you have a chance for your little intro as they come.
And to let them know that this is not a free-for-all, that you're in charge. You've been left in charge of this home and the safety of it. So
Exactly.
those are all very good points. Anybody have questions or comments? Kelly, were you gonna say something? Because your face is on the screen.
The one thing that I love to ask people right off the bat is, are you working with a realtor? And that way I know, you know, whether or not to push more, you know, to gain them as a buyer. And I had one open house where a woman and her daughter came in. They were looking. This was the last open house. They've been to 5 open houses before me, and they came in and I said, are you working with the realtor? And they said, no. And they've been to 5 open houses and nobody asked them. And I said, you are now. And I got them as a client, and I sold them my house. I sold them Tim Reeder's listing that was held by the open house was held by another realtor. I sold them that house that they really liked because nobody asked them.
Yeah, exactly.
Open houses are really wonderful for new agents. I tell you, I picked up so many buyers. I never sold the house that I opened, never. I picked up so many buyers, and then those buyers 5-7 years later are now either downsizing or need a bigger house, and who do they call? So
I-
this is just perfect way, especially for newer agents, to pick up clients and fill up their database.
I totally agree. That's how I built my whole database, was open houses. And I've never had one of my houses. I had one sell at an open house that I did. But that was it. But everything else has been just a way to get clients.
Exactly.
Absolutely. I've rebuilt my business twice, and both times worked by just getting into doing open houses. And we've since being here in 2007 doing open houses, we've probably sold 3 houses to people that I met at open houses way back then. Sold their houses. So
There was
a great way.
There was, I was trying to look on Buffini, but I thought there was a dialogue they had.
There
for
is.
open- I couldn't
Their,
find
their,
it.
their dialogues are buried. They're difficult for me to find. If you find,
Yeah.
that one, let me know.
Okay,
But yes, you're right. There is the dialogues that are really, really good for starting out. But there's also the proper way to do it, which Alyson, you just did a great presentation on how to
Yes,
go about doing that. The one other thing, Alyson, can you touch on real quickly is, and I don't think you did touch on this, but putting signs out, and like when and how, and do you do coming soons, and do you pin houses immediately with a sign, or how do you go about doing that?
How I personally do it on my listings is I don't do the coming soon sign. I just haven't really dipped into that yet. I go live, and I think it's 3 days is the rule. So you go live and then you have 3 days to start showings. So usually the way I like to do it is I go live with showings starting the next day. Sometimes we'll lay out like, we're going to show this house for 2 or 3 days and then accept an offer after that. You have to be really sure that you're actually going to stick to that, I think, just as a matter of honor.
Do you do writers for, I think I asked that question wrong. Do you writers for open house on Sunday?
Oh,
And
no, and that's just like, I just don't have them. Also, I don't want to put on a house all week long. It's going to be open on Sunday.
Yeah.
If I sell it on Friday, I'm selling that MFR on Friday, and I'm not going to hold it open, and I don't want to go back on my word.
Yeah.
I also don't want people who might have come to look at it earlier in the week, look at it and be like, oh, this is perpetually like it's open every Sunday. Like,
Right.
you got to come in now. And then in terms of pending it right away, I don't put the sign up until the home inspection is over. If there's a home inspection happening, I'll just leave it up there.
And then when you're having an open house, do you put directionals? How, do you have some kind of a plan around that? And do you have like
the
a
signage? So
open today sign, or?
I use just the regular open sign writer. And then I kind of base it on like what the location wise.
Yeah.
So we do have like a big giant flag that our team kind of shares. I will use that if I think it's hard to find this unit. I will use directionals if I think it's necessary to do. And honestly, like usually I'm kind of coming in hot anyway. I'm a busy person. I don't have time to like run around and put all these little signs out and then go pick them up after I got places.
Yeah.
If I feel like it's going to be hard to find, I will.
Okay.
But people are using GPS.
It should
so,
be.
Yeah, I'm generally not too concerned about it. If it's multi-units, like a big townhousey place, I might stick that flag out there.
Perfect. All right, we're kind of almost out of time. We are out of time, but if there's any last minute questions or comments that you guys have, throw them at Alyson right now. That was great. It was really good. Thank you so much. We will memorialize it in the video library, and you don't have to do it again.
Hey, can I tell
Go ahead.
my first open house story? When my first open house was in a new listing on North 29th Street, and I didn't know Omaha very well, but it's like was right in the center of Gangville. And I come on a Sunday with my balloons and my sign and ready to open this house up. And then the hazmat team pulled up next door to it. I guess it was a meth house. So I thought, well, this isn't good for my open house. So I, so I ended up losing it.
Oh, God, the hazmat team.
Yeah, but before the Rona, I would do the snacks and drinks and that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And honestly, that was for me because it's
Yeah.
boring.
Yeah.
And so it gave me something to talk to people about, and it was just kind of fun. I don't think it really matters. I think it maybe will impress your seller. But
Buy snacks
now,
that you like, basically.
yes, and I would do snacks. But now that I think that's kind of people have different protocol around like touching things and eating things, which it's absolutely makes sense. I don't want to encourage people to salivate at my open house now, but
Because you're the boss.
because I'm the
of
boss,
them.
and I say keep your mouth shut. In here.
Who wouldn't do what you said? Okay, well, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Fantastic, as always. Thank you, everybody who joined us, and hopefully we see you all next week. This series on authenticity is going to be really, really good, and I want you guys to really give these people a good welcome, so we can fill the screens and have your cameras on. So next Thursday morning, take a shower, do whatever you need to do to make sure that you get on camera. As you can see, I'm just like, here I am. So let's do this well. So thanks you guys so much. Really appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.